I want the one with flames on it. I have the one with flames. I want this one.
Where did I put my Gatorade bottle? I lost it.
Which one? Which one is this? This is what? That one? Special song. Okay.
And also cherry burgers. I just see
All right. Yeah, I do remember this scene, especially if you get older.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, man, I was listening to your album on the way home. Some of the songs, man, it's so good, man. Singing it, I just never really listened to cover to cover. Another one. Yeah, it's crazy. It's great.
Lloyd, I'm almost ready to start.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Say something. Don't start this one.
Okay.
Are you this one?
Okay. I was gonna go through my mail. I think we should just wait till it comes back. Tell them we did, but
Is there anybody else
give one of us.
like
You gave one to Christian.
but I didn't give one to I don't know. Max, is there my height, but modify. One of my
Johnny will be right back. He went to the restroom. It's a part of healing. It's related.
Yeah, that's one I would choose. That's a nice sound. About the same way.
Hey, Andrew. Oh yeah. Never mind. Is this one still plugged in? Yep. Thank you. I got it.
It was plugged in the wall.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
plugged in.
I had it plugged in for the last hour.
Yeah, good. It's live on YouTube. All right, Lloyd. Martha, are you? Where's Martha? And Mary Grace. Okay. Well, I was thinking that if I knew where you were, then I could. Martha's there. Where is she? You want to come sit with us? We won't make you talk. But you know, Francois going to watch this here. Not there, but I'll sit there. Why don't you sit there? I'll sit there. It's mainly a talk, and we're just going to let you talk. Answer my questions. Desmond has something to say, but he says it, then we're just gonna let Lloyd talk. He used to talk like that.
I can read. I have this little story that I wrote about it.
Why don't you start with that?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Hey, Lloyd. My bladder. Sit down. No, we're ready to go. You're sitting there next to Martha. Desmond's going to start it, and then Christian.
I didn't even realize this thing has got the same title as.
All right. Well, welcome to the last master class. I think everybody is here. I want you guys to know that every year I learn maybe a new trick to make the workshop better. One of the things that happened last time was that some people that weren't able to make it, like sometimes they just couldn't make it because their family trip or something, were really asking me to do something about getting more footage and stuff like that online. So for the last 4 nights, including tonight, I've live streamed. I learned how to live stream, guys. So you can actually go and watch this hour. It's actually live streamed because Francois has been watching the concerts at night from the live stream because it's live streamed on the KC Facebook page. And then it will also be on the YouTube page. But unfortunately, I kind of messed up, and I didn't have the passwords for the passwords for my YouTube page were there, and I was under a lot of duress. So it's on my YouTube channel, and then I'll hopefully have time to move it to the KC page. But anyway, all 5 nights, including tonight, will be on there. So you can watch it later because they become documented, and this hour is going to be documented as well. So you can watch it. Francois has been enjoying it so much. He said, because it's late there, and he said, I want to come to hear Lloyd talk. So Francois will watch this. So that'd be nice. Okay, that's enough. In this case, I'd like to introduce Desmond Bratton is going to start with some words about Lloyd, and then we're going to have Lloyd talk.
Okay. Hello. An interesting thing just happened, which I think is kind of, part and parcel of lessons that I've learned from Lloyd in my development, but just also the ethos and the awareness that's necessary to do the type of work that we do. And that's, I was sitting under a tree outside and just chilling. And then I just came in here and I sat down, and this little tiny bug, I just went like this, and this little tiny bug dropped down and landed on my arm, and now I have it on my finger here. It's what
Hi, guy.
Yeah. And I think, it just landed, and it was very random, but I kind of live a lot of my human life in awareness, just kind of like, and in this thing that I call salute the small things. So I think rather than like a master class in this situation, it's kind of like a servant. This type of work is a servant class. It's a class on being a servant to the little things that people don't see, little gestures, or the way people move in their bed, or they don't move, or and making that kind of the premier experience, just being and embracing those subtleties of people and noticing things that maybe I call it grandmother eyes, that people's grandmother, if you have a good relationship with your grandmother, but just the little things that the grandmothers usually notice. So I like trying to wear those lenses before I go into a hospital room. And Lloyd taught me that because coming up and going to the George Vance camps, I remember we were in one city and I accidentally closed the door on branch of a tree, and we were about to drive off, and I was like, oh, just drive off. And Lloyd was like, what about that tree right there? You're gonna just pull its branch off? No, come on, think about the tree. And you know, I wasn't vegan. I wasn't on seed cheese. He was on like seed cheese and raw food. You get really sensitive on it. And so I really that kind of vibe, just hippie vibe, just loving nature and the little things. And so that's the kind of thing that kind of drew me to this work and to this experience that I'm about to read. I just wanted to read this little thing that happened in the hospital. And oddly enough, it's called The Healing Power of Music. And that's just how it works. So it starts with this. Peggy meets me in the hallway. When Peggy sees me playing my cello, as she refers to it, I'll have to gently remind her it's a bass a few more times within the context of the conversation. She has to stop. She says, because of the music, but as we begin to converse, I learn that it's because I strike such a resemblance to her nephew. Despite my mask, she senses and can see somehow a familiarity. I imagine it's the music. It happens quite often in the so-called thin spaces of the hospital or other precarious environments that people who are struggling or facing their mortality have taken off their societal armor, an armor worn to forge and protect a life in this world filled with its abrasive tendencies. But this armor must be softened in this space. It doesn't serve us to hold on to our weapons of ideas and separateness and toughness. We must be relaxed and soft so the body can enact its capacity to heal. And when that softening happens, people feel connected to those who practice living in that soft space. She feels this and invites me to the room of her aunt, who is in the bone marrow transplant unit of University of Michigan's Mott Hospital, struggling with a long road to recovery ahead. Although I couldn't join her in that moment, I promised that I would return the following day. When I arrive at the room, Peggy is attending to her aunt whilst her son and wife look on. As I begin to play, there's a palpable silence. I play my arrangement of Ave Maria that is inspired by a Pavarotti performance I love. When I finish, I can feel the impact. The patient's eyes are softening and cascading towards rest, while Peggy and her children well up with tears. I follow this piece with one of my more recent compositions called Bridging the Gap, a piece centered on the process by which someone cultivates relationships with the supposed stranger through learning the plight of others and learning themselves in the process. Its impact is also felt and seem to be felt now too, as Peggy begins taking off her jacket and dancing improvisatorily to the swaying melody of one of the piece's many themes. I lean in, phrasing in concert with some of her beautiful sweeping arm gestures, which clearly she feels as the movements of her dance become more expressive, more free, and connected to the sound swirling in the room. We perform and end together as if it had been planned all along, and finish up with conversation and banter that highlights the deeply palpable moments of shared catharsis that only art can give. As I say my goodbyes and I pack up in the hallway, Peggy's son, fairly quiet up until this point, comes to greet me. I just wanted to say that you really killed it back there, man, and I don't usually get emotional around music. Yes, lyrics maybe, but never just song. But your music really moved me. As tears begin to well up in his eyes, I can feel that he wants to embrace me, but we both hold back, assuming the cultural shackles of individuality that have yet to be surrendered in the other. We settle for a sensitive shoulder squeezing as he walks back to the room, and I prepare to tend to the next patient. As I turn to walk away, he comes out again to give me another teary-eyed thank you. This time I want to thank you for my mom. She loves to dance, but she hasn't been able to for years. Today, with the aid of your song, I saw her dance with the energy of her past self. And dude, I can't thank you enough for that gift. Thank you. This time the feelings shared are too much to bottle up, and we forego our shackles of separate selves to meet as one in unified embrace. That was a Wednesday.
And that you didn't, was clear, that's actually Lloyd's writing, not yours, right? Or is that yours?
That's me.
Oh, sorry.
This is an experience I had at Michigan.
So, and when did you write that?
Maybe a couple years ago. And yeah, but I say it's a Wednesday because it happens every day, that kind of stuff. And that was for a grant. I needed to get some grant money. So but I had to write it though. I was also compelled by it because it was just a magic moment. But I'd be writing all day, like all the things that Lloyd writes online if I did it every day, you know, because it happens all the time. So thank you for helping me get into that world.
And what's nice is Lloyd's writing on YouTube, Facebook, are very great because a lot of times he just is doing what the better parts of YouTube is when somebody's just like, hey, I did this today. And sometimes it's just like the most compelling information that's nice for others to hear. So those are all very well documented in your Facebook account. You can just go back through them. There's a lot of nice ones about the workshop, but are you ready to speak to these people?
Yeah. I didn't prepare for this talk. I've never done that. I have talks at the hospital, and I do a certain amount of preparation, and eventually a lot, even if it's the day before or 2 days before. And each time I think it'll be the same. Maybe I should back up a little because I don't know. I've been a music practitioner for 19 years, just something like that, 19 years. So 19 years of what he's talking about. And it's extraordinary, truly extraordinary way to play the bass, way to play music, because every time he plays, it matters. Somebody's listening, somebody's maybe needing something. When Desmond was talking about we really don't have, we haven't training. We have about a year of training, but the idea is not to, at least at Moffitt, at the hospital I work at, the idea is not to diagnose the patient. In the diagnosis or whatever evaluation I'm making is happening in the moment, in the hello. And you get good at it. Hello, I'm Lloyd. I would like to play some music for you. No, it doesn't cost anything.
No, it's not a cello.
Yeah, no, it's not a cello. But and you just ask permission and then show up and play. And the music does with the other people who work in the hospital, they have to rely on some kind of verbal pattern, what they know how to say. People are used to hearing people talk, but people are not used to hearing people play upright bass at their bedside. They're not prepared for it. And they, it transcends anything we can say. Maybe if, I don't know, maybe if I was some great poet or something, maybe could come close to what we do. But a lot of things that we think are necessary in the music world, like when we come into a stage and a room, and there's all these things in between. There's hardly anything in between. There's not a lot, there's no, now I would be 6 feet of space between me and the listener. There it might be nothing but a bed, or maybe there's a few technical devices, medical devices, whatever, but it's very intimate, very close. So any of you who want to experience this, I don't advise to do it without training, but the training is, it's a weekend a month, it's easy. It's very good. It's called the Music for Healing and Transition Program, the one I went through. It's since 1995, I think. No, maybe longer. Anyway, it's been around a long time. And it's mostly online now. Well, I went in person to these things, and I'm still in touch with the organization. I have a lot of respect for it. And it may sound simple. You go into a person's room and you play music for them, but there's much subtlety that they can help you understand and to use to your advantage. And so I'm very grateful to them for training me. I don't know where I was. Anyway, where was we?
No, just talking about the work.
So we were in the room playing, and then I have 150. I found out. Recently, my wife helped me catalog about 150 pieces of writing that I did over the years. It's not very many for 18 and a half years, but it still is. It's some, and it would always be on my menu if I had a moving encounter with a person, and I could tell you, from a guy running through the unit to tell me, hey, Mr. Moffat, with a couple of expletives, I didn't think I was gonna make it, but I heard you play, and it gave me. He didn't even use the word courage. It wasn't that sophisticated. I don't remember what the word was, but it gave him some energy to go on. And he wanted to tell me that a week later. It could be from that to a man in the bone marrow unit who described for 10 minutes afterwards all the places the music took him. In detail, the scenes, all the things that music do for us in that situation it's an ideal situation for it, because they are in need of creative stimulation and there's so many different aspects to it. So it's not just it's simple. Really, the only thing you need is to be present, to learn how to be present for the person. And you present on stage is one thing, it's the same thing, but I'm looking at I'm looking at Max again, and I don't know why I haven't been able to say her name all week. I think it might be the brain surgery, you know. But the I'm lost. So what else? Is there anything else important I want?
Yeah, just that sense of presence that has a complexity to it, only because the world is so complex, and we just become conduits. Get kind of siloed into just, oh, we're supposed to be complex. We're supposed to run here and there, and then you see somebody that may have lived their life in a complex way laying there, and there's an end to that. You have to go in a different direction, counter to the cultural current of, especially in the United States, just constant movement, because healing happens in stillness and rest.
That man that I mentioned, he was in pain. It was another visit. There's this unit where there's isolation unit where the bone marrow transplant. They're just stuck there for 3-4 weeks. The only person they can't even, they don't get visitors. It's really infection control, and but you get to go on this unit. It's kind of, I always felt privileged to go in there and to play for these people. And it's nice. It's a modern unit. Room's almost twice the size of it can be private. It can be just you and the other person. And I went into one, and it was dim. All the lights off and shade down, and I didn't know. All he said was, he says, I'm in some pain, some abdominal pain, but if I don't move, I'm fine. I really want to hear your music, and so I just stood in the middle of the room and played, and he. After it was done, there was a long time of silence, and then he said, I can't thank you enough. I didn't feel any, and I still don't feel any pain, and I felt, and he went into great detail of how he felt, the place the music took him, and also, there have been long relationships. I've had relationships up to a year at a time. There have been people I only saw for 5 minutes, like that guy, that man that came in. I was in the airport once, and I was only 10 places away with a base, right? The base case and everything, in a whole 9 yard. And just, I was nervous about getting on the plane, and I won't say it was the best yoga moment. And this woman comes up to me, and she said, Mr. Moffat, and of course I knew what it was. And she said, I have to tell you, thank you for the visit. You played music for my mother, and we've been talking about it for years, and I'm so glad I got to see you. And I'm coming down to the wire, the person is waiting, the ticket person is not going to wait for me. And anyway, I thanked her for, hugged her, and but it's extraordinary. So if any of you won't get paid a lot, but you get paid. But I want to say one thing. I've never said this in public before, but thank God for my wife, going back to school, getting a good job that paid money, and that for being a person that actually believed in what I was doing, because from then on, I didn't care what kind of paycheck I got. And I can talk honestly, this job has been a blessing. My whole life, my whole career has been one blessing after another. And the fact that I'm nearly 70 and that I have this brain cancer and it probably isn't survivable, no, definitely isn't survivable, but maybe might be a year or two. They're very rare people that live longer. This was the best possible. Nobody gets to experience a week like this in their whole life. Anyway, I don't want to cry, but I want to thank you, thank all of you for caring. You showed me a lot of love this week, and I can't tell you, but it's been like that. When a person accosts you at the airport just to tell you they love you, the music does that. The music that you play, it's magic. Don't think it's not magic. It's not a performance. If you're doing it well, to the best I can imagine, fantasy level, it's beyond that. It's a performance, yes, but it's doing magic that you don't even know on other people, and you don't even in a way you don't even deserve that. It's like we're human beings, we're constructed that way, and we get a chance to tap into that. Don't forget that. It's extraordinary what you did to me the other night, ATN. You killed me, right?
Not yet.
So thank you. So
Yeah. You have something?
I mean, well, that bass that I played last night was a gift. Right before I came here, I was visiting with a patient now he has probably, they said he has 6 weeks to live. That was 3 weeks ago. So he has leukemia. He had a bone marrow transplant. And before he got the results of it, he gave me that bass. He said it's been sitting in my room, in my house. He was a doctor who trained at the hospital where I work and then moved up north and was private practice. And then came back when he had leukemia, got a bone marrow transplant from his son that went well, but he was waiting on the results. And the day before he got the results, he went up north 4 hours, drove it down, drove the bass down, gave me the bass, a bow, $1,000 so the bass wouldn't be a bill, so I could, get it fixed, put some strings on it and stuff, and then took me out to dinner. But when the bone marrow transplant didn't take, I drove up there last week and played a little set for his family with his best friend from high school, and they were all meeting around at the family home. And we got to play together because, like you said, like Lloyd said, you develop relationships, you get to connect with people, and you get healed in the process. Like I drove 4 hours up there, and I get out of the car, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? This is a family private thing, But they brought me in, and they just gave me a place to stay, and they treated me like family. And I didn't spend, it's just like maybe total of time that I spent with it, maybe 5 hours. you know, but before that time when I spent the night. But just these little visits, like you said, and you don't realize because you're just doing your thing, but you're doing it in a way that's just centered on letting go of it being your thing. You know, you're just trying to serve the thing. And I think there's a reflexive grace that gets mirrored on us when we surrender in that way, to just being a conduit for that kind of truth, you know? And yeah, it just happens all the time, doesn't it?
What's that?
Yeah.
That's why I don't feel, chances are, the statistics say that I have a year, let's say a year to live. And that during that time, it'll be good until it's bad. And then it'll be really bad pretty quick. I prefer it that way, you know? And it happened right when, God, would I have hated to miss this week, right? Yeah, I would have hated it. And I was having a seizure every other day for 5 or 6 weeks until they changed the therapy. They chose a second line therapy that wasn't their top choice. The top choice wasn't working. This is working better than they expected it to work. I'm here. Of course, I have help, you know, a lot of help. But how cool is that? I mean, the thing is I can bypass, because I've had such a charmed life, because I've been so lucky to do so many things, to have so many great experiences, to have such a great spouse, to every day do something so rewarding for 20 years. I mean, how can you feel that? I mean, I'm 70. Now there's another guy, I'm not 70 yet, but I'll be 70 in November or something like that. And there is a young man, I don't think he's here. I don't think it's, I'm not gonna use his name, but he's a bassist in the area, and he called me in March, and told me, you know, he's 33. He has 2 children, little, and a wife, and they're both musicians. And I will say too that he's 50 times more talented than I am. And although I've been given this blessed life where I've been able to reach a level in my playing that doesn't reflect that quite so much, that lack of talent, because I've had a lot of time. But this guy has tremendous talent, and he called me on the phone, and we talked about it's not the same diagnosis, but it was serious, and it is serious. And as of now, it sounds like he's been given a reprieve, and you can see that he thinks he might have a few more decades with his children and stuff, and I hope it's true. And I only brought him up because actually, not to talk about him, but to talk about the fact that there's this huge difference between a diagnosis at 30 and a diagnosis at 70. I've had a good life, and I am not, for the most part, feeling sorry for myself. And I'm very thankful. And to stuff that matters, if you have any advice I wrote some things down before, and I knew I wouldn't use them, but earlier today or this morning on the way here, it matters what we do, how we treat people, the stuff that doesn't seem like it matters, and the rest kind of doesn't. It's like the opposite of the way that yes, we have to earn a living. We have to support some people who are, maybe we have an autistic child, or there's all kinds of things. There are tragedies and there are beauty in this life. There's the whole gamut. But if you have a choice, choose to spend your time thinking about opening yourself up to things that matter, things that can help other humans, that can take care of the planet, I had better notes than this. Anyway.
You're doing fine, just fine.
So it matters. These choices are good. You may why you became a bass player, who knows? If it was altruistic or not, it doesn't matter. You can still realize that Martha and Naomi came and played for me today. He brought instruments, took me into a room. Well, actually, it was on the stage. It was pretty nice, and played for me something they had sent me a recording of. Why would they do that? Why would they go to that effort? It's something I'll never forget, and I felt so special. It's like what I. Yeah.
We were doing something that matters.
Do things. If you have a choice, think about doing things. Think about what really matters to you, and think about doing those things, doing that thing, or as close, or something close to it. Christian, I hope you don't mind, but this guy, he's I don't know how he's still alive, but he's been to school. He teaches school now. He teaches public school, little kids, music. I guess everyone loves him. So even Arnold Schnitzer, who I don't see as kind of a Scrooge character, loves him.
Wait, this
Hi,
ice
Arnold.
cream.
loves him and teaches him. I mean, Arnold knows. I know Arnold actually, and he knows I'm kidding. But he's a luthier. The bass he's playing on he restored himself. He teaches the public school system in a challenging area. It's not a high. That job is not for the faint of heart, right? And then in the midst of all this, over the past 3.5 years, I'm lazy about certain things, and I was not going to transcribe my own music. All the music that I played for patients in the hospital wouldn't be transcribed. The 10 original pieces that just were published is because Christian somehow fitted into his life to transcribe them. It's astonishing, the level of you want to look at a model of generosity on a moment-to-moment basis. This guy is, I don't know. It's amazing. I tell him though he has to take care of himself.
But look at what just happened though. Here's the pay it forward. I broke my bow on the way here, And then I come in and I say, I don't have a bow, and I'm just casually mentioning it to Christian. He's like, hey man, follow me, with an emphatic follow me, which he's not usually like that. He's usually like, I'm like, all right.
Usually don't follow me.
Yeah, don't follow me. I'm like, all right, I'll follow you. He goes to his bow case. He said, here, you have to have this bow. You have to have a nice bow to play for people. I said, no, I'll just use my car bow. He's like, no, forget that. You can't do that. You do beautiful work. You have to have this. I know it's hard to take gifts, but you have to do it. So I said, well, let's talk about it. Let's meditate on it. I'll use it for the concept. Then the next day, then I tell that to Lloyd at the bar, the record bar. He's like, man, I got to go, but I got to tell you something about that. And then the next day he comes in with his Gilles Duo bow that he was planning on gifting to Christian the next day. Inscribed in the silver is ZMF, right? Which was that little Zanango Mafuite, the goodbye. And so I just say, I guess I'm saying that to say is that the taproot of energy that I think you followed and I think you taught me to trust, you know what I mean? And it's stewarded by my developmental life with my mom, just like trust that feeling. I think that's kind of what you're saying. Like if you're gonna do things that matter, well, how do I know what matters? Well, know the thing that knows before thinking remembers. There is a knowing within all of us and trusting that. And I think that's what you were riding that, because it was just riding that wave of that. And then right back, that's how the energy works. You get blessed. And so I just thought that was a miracle of that following that.
Yeah. I want to mention something about, I made Martha sit up here, and we don't want to. We don't have that much more time before the hour's
But I'll
over.
just talk for a minute or two.
But yeah, I don't. You don't have to speak. You don't want to.
I will speak.
You will. Martha has the floor.
No expectations.
Everybody be quiet.
No, I'm not really a public speaker, but Lloyd introduced me to Music Healing Transition Program at Oklahoma City at a base convention, ISB base convention that George was at. And I couldn't start the training. I think that was 2005 or 7. Yeah, it was one of those years. And I wanted to start the training, but my mother passed, and then George passed, and then I was ready to, but the blessing that came out of that time was that I spent time in hospitals. And I'd never been in hospitals much, or people all pretty much say, oh, don't go to the hospital or all that. But I have grown through my 12 or so years of playing therapeutic music. Actually, I get to the hospital and think, I love being here. And I love playing for patients. And recently I talked to George's grandson is a cellist and a music composition major, and his wife is a music therapist, which is a different type of therapy and a longer study, and probably some of you know about that. The Music Healing Transition Program is a shorter form of study, and we meet the patient in the moment, like Lloyd said. It's different than music therapy, which is a longer series of longer session. So, but I'm so appreciative that we've had that discussion in that year. And recently, time up.
No.
Recently, I played for somebody, or I was playing in a unit, the infusion unit, and I stopped it, and someone came around the corner and said, live music. So they weren't expecting, they didn't think it was live. And it makes such a difference to have, you're saying music in the hospital, that's live music. And there's another hospital in the area that has, in fact, I was talking to technician that was in one of the wards one day, and she said, well, we have a program where we give everybody a tablet to watch a musician, listen to music or watch a musician play, and it's not the same. The intervention that can happen between people and live music is great. So I'm eternally grateful to you for introducing me to it.
I wanted to read a quote about what Lloyd said about Kansas City Bass Workshop after leaving, because I just love that one to share with everybody. But I forgot it at home, so I can't remember it. I am going to have to just paraphrase it, I guess, or the idea. But Lloyd was essential to help me because George was the one that was talking to me about starting this workshop 25 years ago or something. This is the 17th year. So we were talking about it for many, many years. And you guys talked about serving a colleague. Well, I was like, well, I can only serve so many calls. And it's true. I knew that I wanted to do this, but I was like, the steps to doing it. But I think the most incredible part about Lloyd for me and the workshop, and this is kind of off topic as far as like being a healing practitioner, but I want to say that because he brought that here every time, and he brought it to DC because both me and Lloyd were students in the workshop, and then at some point Lloyd just looked at us and said, "Next year you're on faculty," and we're like, "What?" Like we both had, we were pooping our pants, playing our recitals and stuff like that in front of, Etienne and Hans and like, you guys are good. We were just in the back of the class. But the one that I was wanting to bring up, and I did read this we did a podcast, me, Desmond, and Jason Heath, about the healing power of music. There's another quote I have like a little podcast called Jamming on the Bass, or KC Bass Stream or something. I can't remember right now. But a couple of years ago that I interviewed Lloyd. So you can kind of go, and we're really talking about our history and how we were working on the workshop. But the quote that I wanted to read was really important because this is the part that I think is essential for Lloyd always coming here, and essential about why George looked at me and him and said, "No, you're on faculty," because we weren't as far along playing wise as the other faculty. Like we were shaking. I mean, the other faculty were shaking too, I'm sure. But, like we didn't go to we didn't go for a year in Paris before we got chosen to be on faculty, like everybody else did. And that was cool. But, I couldn't say no because I knew there was something that George was asking me to do. And he was so good at that. And then Lloyd was so good at steering me from not just running away. And this is the quote that really helped me the most. And this, I feel like it comes from George, and I feel like it comes from Martha, but she doesn't like it when I say that. But, and Lloyd always, you just said, look at the small things at the beginning. And that's what I see in a lot of amazing teachers, and a lot of the faculty here is very mixed sometimes too, like I do that on purpose. But George, you said something about how the KC Bass Workshop in the quote is like a great place to learn to love your instrument in a non-competitive way. And I think that's really, really helpful because out of all the other instruments, the bass is like an extraordinary family because even though, Francois he he could be a big fat jerk because he's really talented, but he is not. I mean, he's the most giving person I've ever met. And so that idea of non-competitiveness, so that we all are lifting each other up, like that was the message that I heard at the first George Vance workshop. I met George at ISB, and I met him, and I saw Francois, and I blown away by him, all that stuff. But I didn't. That message of non-competitiveness, a unit, everybody doing it for the love of doing it, building each other up. That's what I learned at your camp, and that changed my life. So it's good. So Lloyd highlights that, and I mean, you should go read Lloyd's Facebook page, because sometimes he's talking about a thing, but I'm sure if you go to the summer months of your Facebook page, because you could just scroll down for years.
You know,
It's like there, every year you would write something after this.
this is not to promote this, but one of my, I have a dozen amazing colleagues at the Cancer Center, the Moffett Cancer Center, incredible colleagues. And we've been, about 5-6 years ago, when we had a new supervisor, I mentioned earlier, about the pendant, she basically said during the pandemic, she said, you need to spend more time together. You need to talk. You need to get to know each other. Even if it takes, you miss a patient or two, you need to spend time together. You're artists, and you're healers. She didn't use that word, she wouldn't, but and she gave permission to the team to care for each other. And I've been working there for a long time before that, 10 years, or 12 years before that. And we had a very wonderful team and a wonderful supervisor, but there was never that sense of, it was like any other job. If you aren't being busy, you were doing something wrong. So where was I going?
Just about the unit, the need for collaboration. Oh, yeah, the books.
Oh, yes.
The writing.
Yes, she's right. One of my colleagues is she's an artist, visual artist, but she's very good with the computer, and she's compiling all these writings, these 150 writings. We've been reading through them at night. She'd come over to the house, Mary Grace and I, and we're reading them out loud, and they're mostly, I have to say, until my brain got scrambled, writing and speaking were the easiest thing for me, easier than anything else. Music, easier than music, and so anyway, she's. But now it's not. But these things were written. I was smart enough to know that they had to be written right away, and in the most concise way possible. And that's what they are. And they're almost, there should be 3. Anyway, this collection of writings will be published soon, and for whatever it's worth.
Great.
So we have to wrap it up because we have an amazing concert to put on soon. But I want to say that, I want to thank everybody for being here. That many of the faculty that just came for Lloyd, and it really has been, I said, great kings and queens, or even bad kings and queens. Nobody can pay for something like this. This has been a magical week for me, obviously emotional, but also magical. And it's because of you, the people who are here. And I said that, I was like, well, I don't want to put on a funeral, because that's not what this is. In fact, I said this last night, but there's probably 100% chance that you're totally healed now, Lord.
I have watched Johnny, except for maybe 1 year that I missed somewhere along the line. This goes way back to how many years is it?
This is the 17th.
No, with George Best.
Oh, George back? Well, I don't count that up. I'm a bass player. I only count to 4.
Johnny was taking care of me back in, I was trying to survive off of raw food, do ridiculous things. You get in yoga in the middle, or I forget I had a performance and I'd be out in the field doing yoga. And
Hey,
Johnny took care of me, but we've known each other for that long, and I watched him, and he's not a typical organizer. He's not a typical. He's not a typical anything, but he to this week, I have to say, there are people, and especially Johnny, but Christian and you're on that list, Max, and people. I related to my father right before he died, two days before he died. He's in the hospital. I'm not worried about you. How are you today? Oh, I didn't practice enough or whatever bullshit. And he said, I'm not worried about you anymore. You have what you need. And I've never seen him so concise, so organized, so
I think they really scrambled your brains.
and these other people, Max and Christian, it's like they all came into full fruition or something, or adulthood in front of my eyes, and I really feel like it was a gift to be here. But to get back, this was amazing. If it hadn't been for the World Cup, I'm sure there would be twice as many people here, which I'm sad about. But
this is the perfect amount of people, because anymore I would have been. Someday.
Anyway,
some years are
I would
harder.
like to thank you. I'm going to stand up.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Okay, well, we got to stop, obviously. And you have dinner break. Most of you need to get back here around 5:30 to get your basses tuned up, ready to go, and the show will start at 6. And we have one more. We saved the best final show for last. And of course, I still apologize to all the people that have to play after us, which is me too, because Weird and Wacky's going to. If we haven't healed you yet, Lloyd, you just wait.
You're not ready for this.
You're not ready. Okay, so I thank you all for being here, and I thank the Lord for giving us Lloyd in my life and for giving us this week. It's been heaven. Thanks. You spoke North?
Oh, hey. How you doing?
Like it? Yeah, I like building. Oh, thank you. I can't wait to play bass with you next time. You should send me a video of you playing the bass. I'll send you a video of me. Okay. I can't believe how good you're getting on the bass. And that's the one I bought this one. Oh, I didn't okay.
Seeing the children grow up.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
It was a smile.
Is this a YouTube live stream?
Yeah. We'll do something.
Everything
That's why it's so
I heard it saying that it's good that it's just happening.
That they check that out. Look, I got that. Here, I said, just here.
I was